try to get you a mic.
How's everybody today? Well, I think, the players got the idea. What I talked about yesterday at noon was, can you create momentum during a bye week by what you do? Define what a bye week is. Is a bye week a week off? Or is a bye week a week that you don't have a game, but you have an opportunity to go out every day and improve on the things that you need to improve on, whether it's from a mental intensity standpoint, having lapses, whether it's in the game, those things happen in practice. So you practice these things so that you have the opportunity to improve. Bye week is also about getting rest, getting hydrated, working on your strength, getting treatment, trying to get healthy. So, we try to balance those two things, but we also take a lot of things that, we're going to face in the next, 4 weeks and try to, get a little bit of work on all those things. So, that's what we tried, to do today. I have nothing new to report on injuries, although I'm sure everybody here is very interested that Eddie was back at practice today, Eddie Conyers. All right, so he's off of IR. After 8 weeks. So we're kind of happy to have him back. Still trying to figure out exactly. But I will say this. The officiating was a lot worse without him than it is with him. That's all I can tell you. One thing that I would like to comment about, only because of my relationship with Philip Luchenkirchen, his dad Mike, Abby, his sister played soccer here. They've created a Lutzy 43 Foundation to, educate and to try to do things about people driving while impaired. It's very, very dangerous. It's one of the leading causes of death in 16 to 18 years old, and I would encourage everybody to go to the website and try to learn about this and support this foundation as much as possible. This is not really about Auburn or Alabama or anything like that. It's really about people, and I think all people should support this foundation.
Coach, we'll start up here with Michael.
Just wondering, this year, how have you seen Tua deal with the celebrity and fan that's come his way through his play?
I can't tell, anything about it. I think, he handles it pretty well. He seems to be focused. He hasn't changed his attitude toward preparation or, how he plays in the game, how he treats his teammates, what his leadership role is, how important it is to focus and get it right. I'm sure that all young players, have to go through, sometimes you got to say no. You can't always please everybody, and I know Tua likes to please everybody. It's part of who he is. But, sometimes you just can't please everybody, and, maybe sometimes he has to learn how to say no, because he does have to go to school. He is a student. He's a student athlete. He's got lots of commitments of things that he needs to do, and I hope people can understand that.
Coach, come back over here with Cecil.
Coach, just in a way, following up on what you said earlier, do you have any additional information on Hunter Brannon that you can share with us?
We suspended Hunter Brannon from the team. We're going to do a very similar thing that we did with Mac. He has some internal things that he has to do. He's not going to dress for any games or anything like that until he completes all that. Then we'll reevaluate, how he handled all those situations, whether it be, community service, police ride around, complete a program internally based on his issues. So it's not all based on just punishment. A lot of it's based on education and trying to help the young man make better choices and decisions, because this obviously was not a good one.
Coach, go in the middle with Chris Walsh.
The Player of the Week release said that Jonah Williams didn't miss any assignments and graded out at 94%. Is that about as good as an offensive lineman can do in a game?
Well, I don't know who gives you that information, so we don't give out grades here. So where you got that information, if somebody gave that out, that shouldn't be something that we're giving out, but I know how interested that we are to give as much information to you guys as we can, because sometimes this guy thinks he works for you guys. So I'm not commenting on any statistical information that we give that really shouldn't be given out. So if he was player of the week, he played well. That's all we need to know.
Come back over here with Charlie.
How much have you seen Christian Miller grow, not only physically, but as a player and a leader since he arrived here?
Well, he's done a really, really good job for us. He's battled through a lot of adversity here, mostly injuries. He's worked really hard to gain weight, get stronger, become a little more physical player. And I can't say enough about the kind of person he is. He's graduated, doing internships, developing a career off the field, working hard to develop a career on the field. Always done everything that we've ever asked him to do, and I always think he's a positive influence on his teammates. So, just an outstanding young man all the way around.
Go in the middle with David.
Nick, you had, I think maybe after week 3 or 4, had been a little critical of how the line had performed. What have you seen in terms of improvement from the O-line in the weeks since then? Do you think there was a little bit of an adjustment period, just the way the offense has sort of changed with Tua? Did they have to sort of change with that too?
No, I think everybody needs to improve. I don't think I've ever been critical of anybody on our team or any group on our team. And if I say a group needs to improve, I'm not being critical of them, but there's not any group on our team that doesn't need to improve. We need to improve in the defensive line, the offensive line, the running backs, the defensive backs, the linebackers. Every group on the team has things that they can work on to play better. And I think that fundamentally, through repetition, I see improvement in the offensive line. And we're going to get challenged with better defenses in the next, games that we play. All of our conference games that we play from here on out have the best defenses in our league. Probably have the best front players. So, we'll see if that improvement is going to enhance their chances of being successful when we play against really good front seven people.
Go with Ryder on the back left.
How much is the value of players, say, at Quinnen Williams' position increased, especially from a pass rush standpoint, with the way that quarterbacks are getting the ball out quickly, maybe as opposed to even edge rushers back in the day?
Well, I think edge rushers are important, but I think pushing the pocket inside is really important. I think Quentin's really good at that, and it's been a really positive for our defense. We're starting to get some maximum protection on longer yardage situations, which really impacts the rush. And just like I think they were, 3 for 13 on third down, and 2 of the conversions were on third down and 12. All right, so we're supposed to do better in those situations because we didn't get a lot of rush. We didn't do a good job of covering, and they completed vertical routes down the field. So there's a lot to all this. But I think pushing the pocket in the middle and defending the middle of the field is philosophically what we try to do, and when you have players that can do that, I think it's very helpful.
Go front here with Charlie.
Coach, could you give us an update on Mac Jones?
Just how he's playing, I think, Coach.
Mac Jones is doing fine. I think he's made a lot of improvement. We try to play him, in the games as much as we can so he gains some experience. I think he has made a lot of improvement. We try to rep him as much as we can in practice. He'll get more reps this week, which we'll try to do with a lot of young players this week, and try to get him ready to play. But we do have confidence that he can make the plays, and I think he just needs to continue to stay focused and not get frustrated when things don't go exactly right, which is always the case with young players, and can they focus on the next play, and I think that's really critical at quarterback.
You said yesterday teams are remembered for what they do in November. What goes behind that, and what's the message to the team this week?
So what goes behind that? If we win the rest of our games, good things happen. If we lose any of them, bad things happen. So, and we've had how many teams around here that lose on a kick six or whatever it is at the end of the game, and how does that, do you remember that? So you get remembered by what happened in November. We have teams win the SEC championship game, or win the division, or get in the playoffs because of how they play right now. So we've been in this position before. Sometimes it works out really well when we finish like we need to. Sometimes we don't make it all the way through. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory, really. I can't really explain it any better than that. So we've got really big games coming up, really big challenges, and how the players meet those challenges and how we play together as a team is going to determine what the legacy of this team is and how they're remembered and how successful they are. And that's all going to happen in November.
Sorry, Coach. Last one right here.
Hey, Coach. Just maybe a general question. As a head coach, what does legitimacy mean to you?
I mean, if you're legitimate, that means you're for real, I guess. It means, you've created sort of a reputation for yourself that you're dependable, trustworthy, and actually recognized and respected by others for your consistency and who you are and how you do the things that you do. I could bring a dictionary with me in the future and I give you a definition, but I can't think of one right off the bat. But that's what it means to me.
I ask, Ed Ogeron from Baton Rouge Advocate, and Ogeron in his introductory press conference said that LSU was measured in a game against Alabama, and him himself at 7-1 this year. And I'm just curious from your perspective as someone who has been through programs and built what you had, just what that means to you, what the word means.
Well, if you're asking me if I think LSU is legitimate, I think they're absolutely legitimate. I think they have a really, really good team. I think they played a difficult schedule and done a really good job of beating some really good teams. I think they're, playing well on both sides of the ball. I think they're very well coached. I think Ed's done a really, really good job with the program. I think they're very, very legitimate contender for, our league. And it's going to be a big game for both teams.
Thanks, Coach.